Hi, this is Alan Shimel, DevOps.com here at ChefConf, Austin 2016. And I'm here with actually an Austin native, Boyd Hemphill.
I am indeed an Austin native.
Boyd, well, anyone who's a DevOps.com fan knows that we've had Boyd Hemphill on our site and on webinars and video and at conferences many times. You're a friend of DevOps.com, but we ran into you here at ChefConf and pulled you in. As your hat says, Boyd, you're with Kasasa. Maybe our audience may not be familiar with Kasasa. What is Kasasa?
Kasasa is a small company, but we have a really cool mission. We provide website services, rewards checking programs, all the software to power a small bank to help them compete against the Chases, Capital Ones, and so forth of the world. So it's a fun mission. We have a good time with it.
You're having a great time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's your mission at Kasasa now, Boyd?
My mission at Kasasa is to provide stable infrastructure and innovation.
Something you know a little bit about.
A tiny amount, yes, sir.
Yep. And Boyd, as we spoke about a little bit off camera, you've been so busy the last couple of years, you haven't had a chance to come to ChefConf.
So I haven't actually been part of a chef company. And we just made the decision at Kasasa to move to chef.
Really?
And I am so excited to be here.
Well, it's a good time to move to chef because, you know, we talk to so many people, Boyd, who are saying, and I'm not naming names of other competitors because that's not our gig, right? There's a lot of great tools out there. But chef really seems to be pushing it right now. And the innovation level is high, whether we're talking about Chef Automate, which there's been a lot of announcements about today, or Chef Habitat, the new open source project to automate applications, or even some of the hosted chef offerings, you know, as a service, if you will, that they've come out with. There's a lot going on with Chef, so real exciting. Makes sense.
So indeed, you touched on Hosted Chef, which is actually one of the reasons why we decided to change. Hosted Chef gives us all the secure, essentially queryable infrastructure that we need to find what we have and manage it. And the one you missed was Inspect.
Yes,
so we saw Matt Ray do a demo at DevOps Days Austin on Inspect, and we need that. I mean, we help banks. We need to be in compliance. So Inspect was just this amazing thing to us. I went back and I asked the compliance officer who reports to me, hey, would you be willing to write some code? He went and looked. He got back to me a few hours later. He said, hell yes, will somebody teach me? So we're going to get our compliance officer, just like they were saying in the keynote, out in front in the pipeline. We're terribly excited about that.
I love, when I hear shifting left security stories, I can barely contain myself. So that's all good, Boyd. And Boyd, you mentioned a little bit about DevOps Days Austin. Of course, you're one of the drivers of the DevOps Days Austin and the whole DevOps meetup group, you know, the whole DevOps scene here in Austin. And, you know, for my money, Austin's still the capital of DevOps groups. I love coming down here and seeing all the DevOps folks. What's happening in the local DevOps scene here? Maybe you want to share.
So thanks for the opportunity. So coming up in October, part of the DevOps Days organization group, we're going to put on the second annual Container Days Austin.
Yes.
We do this in concert with Andrew Phillips out of Boston and New York, who does them there. It's going to be a bit bigger. We'll be about 250 people, and we'll be at the Texas Advanced Computing Center, where they have a room about the size of this one with 650,000 computing cores in it.
Wow.
They call it Stampede. So that's really exciting. And I'd like to talk a little bit about something I did last night, because I think I've tapped a latent demand that may not be going served in other communities. Instead of having the normal Austin DevOps meetup, we instead said, let's do DevOps for managers and see what happens. So instead of a tech talk, we sat down in a lean coffee format with 20 people who self-identified as managers and just had a discussion about how do you manage the DevOps? How do you hire people? What should I be concerned with? How do you recognize an anti-pattern so you can keep your team from going down that path? And the question I asked at the end is this something that I should do as a subgroup to Austin DevOps? And the 20 responses were, yes, absolutely.
Count me in on that too. So, that is a great idea.
As you watch this video, if you're in a different city, if you're running a DevOps group, what have you, please try running a meetup like that and seeing if there's a demand in your area, a need to serve the community for managers who are managing the DevOps.
Boyd, at DevOps.com, we would love to cover this, because this is something, we have something called the Leadership Suite, a section of our site, where we want to get stories and topics and challenges for DevOps managers. right? Because there's a huge thirst for this, right? There are a few, like we had Gary Groover, for instance, speak,
He's outstanding.
right? Who's kind of been there, done that.
Right.
But there aren't a lot, and that is, I think you are onto something with that. That's a great one.
Thank you. So I'll
Count
make
on
you two
Boyd.
promises then.
Okay.
I will write an article for that
Okay.
about what we did so that we can maybe create a bit more momentum behind that. And I'll write an article on disposable development environments for you.
Absolutely.
All right.
And we want to hear more about Container Days coming to Austin.
Okay.
We'll do some promo on that as well.
Okay.
And I'll also mention that we're going to be here for a DevOps Connect CD Summit in Austin in November. I don't remember the exact date.
Oh, outstanding.
But I'm sure we'll see you there as well.
All right.
All righty. Boyd Hemphill, DevOps rock star from Austin, from Kasasa, and always a pleasure to have you here,
A
Boyd.
real pleasure, Alan. Thanks for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
All right. This is Alan Shimel for DevOps.com.